and you probably will see the notice on your computer. Thank you again for joining us. I am Dr. Maria Ledesma, and I am an associate professor in the Department of Educational Leadership. I'm also the director / coordinator of the Higher Education Leadership Master's Program. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to speak with both of you today about that and with others who might be listening later. So this is a program we're very excited about. We are launching it this summer, and we will talk more in depth about the particulars of the program, but I do have a presentation I'm going to share with you momentarily, and I invite you to jot down questions, and as we get to the question and answer portion, that you let me know what questions you have. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Okay. All right. So again, you're joining in for the Higher Education Leadership Master's Information Session. And this is a new program that is, as I said, launching in the summer of 2022. The program is housed out of the Department of Educational Leadership, and we're really excited to be able to bring this to you. This has been a long time in the making. We spent all of last year consulting with some of our on-campus colleagues and peers to really ask them what such a program might look like. We also reached out beyond the college and the university to ask some of our area community college peers what this program can and should look like. And we even spoke with some of our other CSU campuses. So we're excited to have the opportunity to now share some of this with you and to launch the first class starting this summer. So very much along the lines of the mission and vision of the College of Education, where we are preparing transformative educators, counselors, therapists, school and community leaders through an emancipatory framework. This is the way that this higher education program was envisioned. We very much wanted to center social justice, equity, inclusion, and also thinking about this emancipatory anti-racist lens and thinking about how we can do this in a way that will meet the needs of individuals who are interested in careers in higher education, but also beyond. Many of the things that we will cover in the program are going to be applicable to leadership position extending beyond higher education. So what you have before you here is an information flyer with many of the other dates of our information sessions. As you can see, February is a very busy month for us as we gear up for our March 1st application deadline. So we hope to really continue to get out the word. We've had great success so far in reaching out to many folks across campus, but also again beyond the campus. One of the constituents that we're also very much interested in working with and helping serve is our community college peers. So working with them as well. We envision that prospective students in the program are going to have a variety of backgrounds, including folks who are recent graduates or on the cusp of graduating from San Jose State, but also those who are already employed on campus and maybe are looking for ways to further their own professional development and looking at, again, learning more about higher education leadership. And then again, those beyond the boundaries of campus to our regional area, those who are interested in higher education. So one of the things you'll see on the flyer here is a blurb that speaks very much to the mission and vision of the program. And I'll go to the next slide because we talk about it here as well. And as you see, the blurb goes on to say that our new master's program prepares higher education leaders through an equity-minded praxis approach to engage in transformative thinking and practice with the goal of disrupting how power in the forms of racism, classism, sexism, all of the isms, and related oppressions intersect to reproduce and sustain disparate higher educational opportunities. So again, what we want to do is disrupt how business has been done in the past. We want to center issues of equity and inclusion and think about advancing and expanding the availability of higher education for those who perhaps have been historically shut out. And so that means tackling, again, some of these isms, and also actually recognizing the history of higher education, the foundations of higher education that tell us that, at the beginning, higher education was envisioned for, particular peoples. And it has now become a necessity that, we believe should be accessible to as many as possible. So as you can tell by this blurb, again, we are very intentional in centering issues of social justice, in part because that aligns with the mission and vision of the College of Education, but also because this is what we heard when we went on our listening tour with the stakeholders that I mentioned earlier. When we talked to other individuals on campus, they shared with us that these issues were issues that were important to them and pertinent to them, and that we needed to continue to delve into and learn more about. So it very much mirrors, again, not only our vision, but also what we heard from those partners that we spoke with as we began to create this program. There are some distinguishing features about this Higher Education Leadership Masters. Like many other CSUs, this is a program that exists on other campuses, but the way that we are approaching it here at San Jose State is definitely unique and different. So I start with that first bullet that, I just talked about, this very much intentional focus on equity and social justice in higher education, and understanding how that is manifested, not just in a diversity class, but across the whole institution. When we talk about leadership, when we talk about finance, when we talk about governance, all of these things are being approached through this equity lens, this social justice lens. Another distinguishing feature is that we are a one-year master's program, summer to summer. So we are going to be launching this summer, and then you would continue through the program until your culminating semester, which would be next summer, summer 2023. The program consists of 10 brand new classes, and this is 30 units. And the way that it is broken down is that we would start this summer in 22 with 2 courses, and then for fall 22, 3 courses, spring 23, 3 courses, and then you would have your final summer in summer 23 with 2 courses. So we're being mindful of, hopefully starting you off slow to get acclimated into graduate study, and also giving you time in that last semester to really hone in on your culminating project, your culminating paper. There will be a combination of hybrid courses, and so that includes obviously online and face-to-face. At this time, I don't have the list and breakdown of which courses will be most online and which courses will be most face-to-face, although we'll talk about that more in the next slide. And it may include also some weekends. One of the things we're very much excited about is that among the courses that we will offer, that will include such things as the history and foundations of US higher education, again, governance and finance and higher ed, higher education leadership. We're also looking at providing 2 classes that will delve into a living case study experience. So what does that mean? That means that we are working with partner institutions to be able to provide you with an opportunity to really get into an existing contemporary problem of practice, where you are going to take what you're learning in the classroom and actually applying it to an existing problem that a current institution is dealing with. And so that means, taking the learning that you're doing in the classroom, the papers you're writing, the conversations and debates that you're having, and actually actually having those applied to an existing problem. So that's something we're very excited, and again, a distinguishing feature from our program from others. One of the things that we hope to do also is to provide you the structure in that last semester, that last summer that I mentioned, where there is a capstone course where you will focus and hone in on finishing your culminating experience paper. And so, across the CSUs, this is something that not all institutions, some institutions do this, but we believe that this is going to be helpful in providing, a successful, we hope, experience to you as you finish that last paper, which is necessary in order to graduate. Just some logistics about the application process. As I mentioned earlier, the application deadline is March 1, so we are now weeks away from that. So again, all the more reason to thank you for being interested. In order to apply, you do have to meet CSU eligibility, which means that you will have either an earned degree from a regionally accredited institution by the time of application, or you are in the process of completing your BA at the moment. You do need a minimum GPA of 3.0. However, if your GPA falls under that, please reach out and let us know. Let us have a conversation about what your particular scenario and circumstances are before you decide not to apply. We want to be able to entertain and review as many applications as possible. And so if you are falling just under that 3.0, please again, reach out and let me know, and we'll have a conversation about it. We do not require the graduate record exam, so no GRE. And that's something that increasingly, more and more institutions of higher education are doing. We will be asking you to complete the application via the Cal State Apply portal. And there you will be asked for 3 letters of reference, and you'll be asked also to complete a statement of purpose and a situational essay. So I want to go back to the 3 letters of reference. Ideally, one of these letters will come from someone who has been your instructor, your professor, and can speak to your academic skills and background. However, we recognize that this might not always be the case, that you might not, have maintained those relationships, especially for those of us who are looking at applying to a program that maybe it's been a little bit of time since we earned our BA, and we don't have that relationship. So in this case, we ask you to look to a supervisor who can, again, provide you with a letter that can speak to your work, how you do work in your work setting, to the skills that you can bring to apply to this higher education MA program. And for the other 2 letters, again, the more that you can have, obviously, from people who can speak to your fit into the program, the better. But again, we recognize that there will be a variety of references that you'll be asking. I think what you want to do is basically seek references that are going to best help you make the case, right, for your application. And then again, for items 2 and 3 here, the statement of purpose, where we're asking you, why is it that you're interested in applying to the Higher Education Leadership Master's Program? And then our situational essay. So I mentioned earlier when I talked about the blurb, the equity mindedness approach that very much is guiding our program. And this is a concept that was created by Professor Estela Ben-Simon. And we give you a link in this essay to that definition of equity mindedness. And we ask you to think about that and to answer the question, which basically is asking you to, again, think about how this applies to higher education. I already mentioned that the application deadline is March 1, but it's important to mention that again. And if you are someone who are just recently finishing your bachelor's degree, or just recently earned it and are looking at this program, one of the things we do recognize is that, especially for those prospective students who have a little bit more limited work experience, that there is great value in having placement opportunities. And a placement opportunity is one where, you would work with an office on campus to provide, service hours for a number of hours, throughout the duration of the program. And the intent behind that is to provide you some work experience so that when it comes time for you to graduate with a master's, you also have some work experience that you can, put on your CV and hopefully increase the likelihood of your, employment immediately thereafter. So that's something that we recognize that, again, if you are an applicant who already has a position on campus, that might be a little bit less important to you. However, for students who are recent grads or on the cusp of graduating, this is something that we know would be of great value. So it's not a formal part of our program, but it is something that we are working with campus partners right now to hope to line up as an opportunity moving forward. So in essence, these are the slides that I have for you. And now we can open the floor up for questions. I will advance to my contact information. So that's my email there at the top. So if you have any questions specifically about the Higher Education Leadership Masters, please let me know. But yes, this is a time for you to ask questions. Please feel free to do so. And you can just either raise your hand or, unmute yourself.
So actually I have a couple questions.
Sure.
My first question is, how large of a cohort are you hoping to get for this first initial year? And my follow-up question to that is also just the classes, are they once a week or once every two, like twice a week? What is that anticipation?
Great questions. Thank you so much for that, Chris. So our hope is to have a cohort, an inaugural cohort size of about 15 to 20. That's what we're hoping for. We think that is a good cohort size for the program. And as a cohort, you will be moving through all the classes together. And as far as the time of the classes, thank you for that. That's a great question. They would fall within your typical graduate student hours, which usually would be, 4:30, starting at a 4:30 block. And then, it can go as late as 9:30. So obviously, usually that means 2 classes, typically a couple of hours each. And they would meet usually once a week for, again, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. And but again, the way that the instructors decide to proceed, you might meet 1 week or a couple of weeks face to face, and then move towards an online platform for a part of your of your work. And as far as weekends, again, there'll be some, but right now it's part of the what we're planning out as we move forward and roll out. I can tell you that for the summer, we're looking at likely having the classes again on a 10-week session. So that's gonna mean that we're going to cover 15 weeks of material in 10 weeks. So we hope to be able to schedule that out in such a way that it's going to be conducive both to you all as students and also to the instructor. Did I get to all your questions, or did I
Yes,
miss
that was great.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Those are important questions.
I have a question. So
yes, please.
Currently, so I'm going to graduate in 2023, and my major is in CHAD. So I was thinking about branching up to like special education, but also thinking about getting a master's in like higher education, because that's kind of where I want to like shift towards in my career. So I was wondering, would it be possible to double major with this major, or what do you think?
Yeah, so Let me phrase that a little differently. So I think what you can do is absolutely apply your interest into the program, right?
Okay.
So this is a higher education program, but you can certainly think about special education in higher ed, right?
Yeah.
So as opposed to in CHAD, which is, tends to be more K-12, you can think about how these issues continue to resonate and remain important in higher education. And one of the things is that in that final culminating project paper is you can absolutely decide that this is an area of concentration that you would like to focus in on, right? So you might decide that your final culminating project is going to be one where you're looking at, the issues of higher education, or excuse me, of special education in higher ed. Now, you can do that either by focusing on the student experience, right? How students who identify as special, having special needs and unique needs, how they feel they are being serviced currently in higher ed. Or you can also think about actually speaking to higher education professionals who work with those students, and to work on, or to have the angle be, instead of the student focus, to have it be from the service providers of what they envision in providing the students in this higher education setting. So the room is there for you to tailor it, but definitely the focus throughout all of the coursework is going to be on the higher education landscape. And I think that's a nice bridge to talk a little bit about the courses. So the courses are definitely intended to give you some history and background on, again, how higher education has unfolded and evolved into what we understand it to be today. But that means also understanding, again, its origins, its history. And so, among the classes that will do that is the social cultural foundations of U.S. higher education, where we really delve deep into those issues. We'll be talking about diversity, equity, and social justice in higher education. What are the policy and ethics of higher education leadership, or excuse me, governance and finance? And then we have also classes that are focused more on the actually enterprise, or run the business of higher ed, and that includes higher education leadership. That includes making sure that we understand how law, policy, and ethics in higher education shape, again, opportunity. And throughout all of this, as I said earlier, there will be a running theme and a running focus that centers equity and social justice. But the classes that are going to be very unique to our program are going to be our classes that are focused on the living case study. And right now there are two. There's one where you would focus more on understanding the practices, the policies, pedagogies that equity-minded leadership in higher education means. And then there's also the actual praxis of, having the ability to apply theory to practice in understanding equity-minded leadership in higher ed. Thank you for those questions. They're great. I'll mention, oh, go ahead, Chris, were you going
No, my just last question is, what is the anticipated acceptance date?
Oh, great. Yes. Well, since we are working with a tight window of, having the applications due March 1, and, having hopefully the ability to alert students to their status, we hope by April 1. We hope that that's something that we're able to do, that we let you know, because again, we will transition obviously towards the end of the semester and then to the beginning of the summer, which we want to have everyone in place for. So thank you for that. That is our goal. Obviously, it also depends on the pool, but we're hoping that to be able to meet that goal of notifying everyone about your application. And that's one of the nice things about the Cal State Apply system, is it also helps you understand whether you have submitted all of the required materials, because we need that before we actually on our end see the applications themselves. They will be first monitored and screened, making sure that they meet all of the requirements, making sure all of the elements of the application are there before they actually get to us. So with that said, that's where I would encourage, everyone to have those materials at the ready. And if not, obviously there's always a save feature on those screens. So you save and then go back to it and continue. But thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. What I was going to mention is that we anticipate that the cost for the entirety of the program is about $15,000 for the entire program. And if you do work on campus, there are abilities to get employee discount. And that's something that is a great incentive as well. What other questions might you have? Carla, do you have any questions? I'll put you on the spot. That's okay if not. No problem. No problem. Thank you for joining us. Listening is great. But yes, as you move forward, as you contemplate whether you want to apply, if this lines up to your interest or not, please keep us posted. And again, if we can help answer questions that you have beyond, this information session, let us know. We're happy to do so. And if we don't have the answer, we'll try and track it down for you, figure it out. Yeah, I'm happy to hang out and continue to answer your questions if you have them. And if not, I look forward, I hope, to receiving your application sometime soon.
Well, thank you very much for all that information. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you. And Carla did ask a question after all. She says, which fields would I be able to apply after graduation? Great. So yeah, absolutely. We can talk about how this degree might help you. So one of the primary avenues that graduates of higher education leadership programs intend to follow is that they go on to work in colleges and universities, many of them in the field of student affairs. You can work, again, in a number of offices in student affairs. However, it's not exclusive that you only have to work in higher education. So you can also look beyond colleges and universities. Many of the issues that we're tackling in terms of thinking about leadership in this critical way, I think would be very appealing as well to industry. If you're looking to go into the private sector, you can do so with, this leadership background. You're also, in terms of, students that I've worked with in the past, some of them, again, have continued on to work in colleges and universities, whether student affairs, housing, other types of positions in higher ed. But I also have other students who have, decided to branch out, and they might work for educational nonprofits or nonprofits in general. It's really, I think, a degree that you can massage and tailor to your particular interests. For instance, Danielle mentioned being very interested in special education. So obviously that's something that either in higher ed or at large, if you worked for a school district, or if you worked for, again, a nonprofit, would be valuable, would be important. And then Carla goes on to say she already works in higher ed. So one of the things that can happen is if you were to decide, for example, to stay in your current position, is that having another degree would help you advance in terms of your income. And so it allows you to make the case, obviously, to have hopefully an increase in salary. But you do have some, in terms of higher ed in general, I think that this is a degree that will help either as an entry point, or in your case, as someone who already has a job in higher education, hopefully advance in your current position or seek a different position on campus that might suit your needs better. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Carla. That was great. Thank you all so much. I don't want to keep you if you need to go, but I'm certainly happy to hang out if you do have any questions. And I'll go ahead and stop the recording. So for those of you joining later, thanks for watching. We're going to stop it now.